Hello everyone! Welcome to Tech Wednesday. It's great to see so many of you here. My name is Michelle Rayner. I'm the Programme Manager for our Entrepreneurs for the Future programme, which is down at the bottom where you guys were having drinks. It would be useful to know by a show of hands, whose first time is it tonight at Tech Wednesday? Well, that's good to see. And out of you guys who put your hands up, how many of you actually either thinking about starting your own business or actually starting your own business? Great. Okay, good to see. Just to give you a bit of idea of what happens at Tech Wednesday, it's a monthly meet-up here where we try to engage in the Birmingham community of people interested in technology, people thinking about starting up a business, or people actually just wanting to engage in a tech community, whether it's a startup they're interested in doing, and actually to find out what's going on in sort of the tech startup world in Birmingham. As I mentioned, I'm the Programme Manager for our Entrepreneurs for the Future programme, which is EFREF for short. It's a tech incubator based in here. So what that means is it's a ERDF funded project, and we support tech startup businesses through a 6-month programme of providing mentor support, access to co-working space, and lots of events that take place here to support early stage businesses. The whole point of this is sort of supporting tech businesses and the growth and jobs created in the Birmingham community. As well as that, we offer various office space, co-working space for people who actually want to work from a space where it's in the tech community. And just to mention, our application programme for process for our tech incubator is very short. It's just a case of filling out an online application form, letting us know about your business. One of our mentors will review it. Our CEO, David Hardman, also likes to meet the businesses that come through the application process. So it only takes a couple of weeks for people to join, and then that's for the next 6 months. People can actually make the use of the space here, get the one-to-one mentoring support, and all the other add-ons that come with being based here. I won't keep you for that long. Just to give you an idea of the upcoming events that are taking place in the next month. There's on Thursday the 8th of October, there's a Transport Challenges workshop. We've actually teamed up with Centro and the Catapult Transport System. They're taking a space in our new building, which will be open come March next year. There's going to be a separate incubator for corporate partners. Centro are the first one, so that's where this workshop, they're actually going to be the key speakers from Centro actually talking about what their challenges are in their transport space, and in fact they're actually looking for sort of innovative tech ideas that actually can sort of solve their issues. So they'll be talking about what data is available and various other things. So that's a useful workshop to attend if you're actually looking to sort of get involved in that space. And then we've got our keynote speaker event with Jeff Ram. I've actually seen him speaking before, and he's quite entertaining. He gives sort of an idea of how you can stand out for the crowd with sort of a very limited marketing budget. And that's happening in the evening on the 15th of October. And then we've got Tech Wednesday, obviously, again, the third Wednesday of the month. And just briefly, when after the three speakers, I'm going to give the opportunity of 3 people to stand up and give a 1-minute pitch. So whether you actually want to sort of give a 1-minute pitch of your business to actually help you network after the speaks and when we have pizza, or whether you're actually looking for someone. So the first 3 people that put their hand up at the end, I'll let them have a minute to pitch in front of everyone. And that's it then. So the format is we have our 3 talks, and then about 7 o'clock we'll head down the atrium again. There's pizza and drinks and an opportunity for you to network. If there's any questions, myself and my colleagues will be around for you guys to ask me. So if I can invite Andy and Shauna. And also, sorry, I'm conscious it's quite warm in here, so I'll put the air conditioning on in a second as well.
take a selfie.
Thank you. There we go. Very much. So this is an introduction to Meteor, and my name is Sean Butler, and this is Andy Williams.
So just to give you a quick introduction to who I am, because I'm just like you guys. I was sitting in the audience last month, or in fact, no, we went around and barbecue, weren't we? But I'm actually running a startup called Trackif, and it's a new type of communications platform for delivering awesome customer service.
As I said, my name is Sean Butler. I run a company called Truculus, and we're doing low-cost GPS tracking for hauliers. And we take their GPS tracking data and feed it into a brokerage system, so that when people want to make haulage deals, the trucks are already in the right place at the right time. This is going to generate huge profits for any potential investors. So, what is Meteor? Meteor is a piece of technology that we're both using, and we met, and when we first met, we realized we were using the same tech. But put simply, Meteor is the fastest, easiest way that we both found to make modern online web applications. We're both techies. We've been using Perl and PHP and MySQL and all that kind of stuff for years. But the thing about Meteor is it's super fun and extremely fast.
Right, it's bored of you now already. So this is the architecture, the outline architecture of Meteor. It's basically just built on a whole bunch of existing technologies that have a good reputation already in the market. So you can't actually see it on there, but it's built on Node.js. And then they've just taken best of breed solutions for each of the components to build up a framework or a platform that you can build your application on. And the one piece of secret sauce there is the DDP, which is the way that it synchronises data up from the front to the back, which is obviously one of the big challenges in modern day applications. So just compare it for a minute to lamp versus mean. If lamp and mean means what you see there, then switch off for the next 20 seconds. Traditionally, we've been building web apps using the left-hand stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Perl, Python, PHP. And more recently, everybody's been moving over to the right-hand side, which is a more dynamic environment that gives us the kind of features and functionality that we expect on our mobile devices today. But of course, what Meteor does is Meteor's taken the right-hand side and basically just taken the best of breed approach to every level and just put all the plumbing in for you. If you want to take LAMP today, then you've got to do an awful lot of plumbing at every level to get everything to work and to work nicely. What Meteor's done is they've just said, okay, we're going to take everything, put it all into one package. You literally install Meteor by saying Meteor install and you're done. So why did we choose Meteor as our two respective businesses? Well, it's not like everybody needs a log-on, so including all the big ones. So how would you code a log-on? You know, that's a whole chunk of work that somebody's got to do and maintain. So all you have to do with Meteor is add the accounts package, and you get a sign-on with all the password checking, do best passwording, create account, log on, etc. And if you want to add in Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, again, it's just another install, and it automatically adds the icon to your log on, and off you go. All you've got to do is work out where you're going to put buttons.
On Truculus, we needed to make a system that was always going to keep up to date. So whenever the data changed, the visuals had to keep up with the data. So essentially, we had a big real-time component to what we were doing. A manager of a haulage company needs a map, and wants a map of all of their trucks and where they are in real time. And we wanted to provide them with a real-time map, and we also wanted to provide them with a real-time ticker. So if any journey events happen, if a driver paused a journey or arrived at a destination or left a waypoint and all these sorts of things, a ticker would appear on the screen. And the map and the ticker would be updated without any human intervention. And so with Meteor, there's an internal data structure called a collection. And a collection has a collection exists on the server and on the client at the same time. They're mirrored. On the server, the collection represents the database, and on the client, it represents your model, your data that you'll be using in real time. Any changes that you make to the collection are automatically represented in your user interface, and they're automatically represented in your all this happens seamlessly without writing any special plumbing code to join those parts.
So it's basically full stack. It just does everything. You just wash and go. It's the classic shampoo and conditioner job. You can put your code in any structure you like. It's not rigid. You can have it in small little files, little bits of HTML and JavaScript, CSS, all over the place, and it just merges them all together when you do your deployment, which is a single command line execution. Everything's integrated, so you just don't have to do any of that plumbing. You just write in your business logic and getting your user interface right. You're not writing all this low-level tech stuff that you need to do to get the database synced and all that kind of stuff. Documentation's great as well. So not only is it easy to learn, but it's also very well documented. There are some really bad examples out there, really bad tech documentation. But Meteor is just great. There's lots out there. And there's a very active community around it as well. Myself and Sean are in the Birmingham meetup, which we're going to try and kickstart. But also there's a lot of stuff on Stack Overflow. A lot of activity there, and it's in one of the top 10 most active projects on GitHub as well. I'm not sure what's next. It's you.
All right. Okay. Right. Yes. So you were saying that I can have JavaScript on the front end and the back end. Those of you who've coded any web apps with Node will be familiar with that idea. You can have JavaScript on the back end and the front end. Well, I guess I'm just reiterating that. With Meteor, you get exactly that because it's a Node platform. So the business logic that you write is written in JavaScript. The user interface code is written in JavaScript, but also the contents of your database is JSON objects, which is neat as well because it looks just like JavaScript. And then when you're issuing a query to the database, you're issuing the query in JSON as well. So that's a cut down version of JavaScript. And so what this means is you're passing Java JSON objects around. You're using JSON as the executable code, and you're using JSON as the coding for storing your data, which means that, you really have to cut down on the mental agility that you have to do. There are fewer tools that you need to use, and all around it's just that little bit less complex and easier to deal with than multiple different languages.
So there are obviously the other considerations around, okay, you've built an app and you're going to have 100 million users by the end of next week. Is it actually going to perform? Is it going to scale? Well, I can't actually give you an answer to that because that is a to-be issue for me as well.
Next month.
Yeah. But it is built, say, Meteor kind of, it does exist because there is part of it, but it's actually built on all of these foundation blocks, Node in particular, and Mongo database, and they each have their own well-proven techniques and approaches for scaling and providing performance. One thing that the Meteor development team are working on right now, and it's in pre-release, is the ability to take your application and deploy it to Amazon Web Services with a single command, and you'll be able to deploy it to a number of servers to cope with your application demands. So that hopefully that might actually just solve those problems for you again. That's what Meteor seems to do. Their approach to everything is we'll make it a one-line command, and all the complexity is just taken away from you. So, so one of the problems of working with modern web technology is that there's an awful lot of it, and there's a whole variety of different ways of doing things, and each problem that we encounter has, for the sake of argument, 100 different solutions. And so you get into the situation where you may choose your operating system, you may choose your containers, or you may choose your database or your language and so forth, but then each additional decision that you're making as a technologist is that new decision going to sit well with the previous one that I've decided? And so you get into a situation where you have a huge variety of choices and like a web of decisions that you have to make, and they all have to operate properly. Does it work well with all these other things? But the problem is being a startup, you just have to just do it. And the thing that Meteor does, and the reason why I know for a fact I adopted it, and I think that Andy did as well, is because it answers enough of those problems
that you can confidently say to yourself, you know, these other things, they're going to take care of themselves, because all of the half a dozen biggest issues I've got to deal with have just been sorted. And it takes about 20 minutes to get to that point.
Okay, so just to make a quick point then, that you can take your single code base and you can produce a web app from it, but you can also, by another couple of single line commands, you can actually build an Android app, or you can target iOS as well. Obviously, you have to have organised your UI to take account of device considerations, but you can build off your one single code base. You can deploy to smartphone. Obviously, it's a web view app; it's not a native app.
Okay, right. Yes, vertical package management. So integration. Because the tech is tightly coupled, and because it all exists as a single package, it all exists as a single platform. What this means is it has its own package manager, like Node has their own, and all the different operating systems have their own. But because it's a vertical platform with technology that can be assumed at every level, when you download a package that you need to use, you can be confident that that package, whether it's a library for handling dates or for a minor little thing like that, or whether it's a database plugin of some sort, or you can be confident that it's going to work with your server, it's going to work with your database, it's going to work with your language, it's going to work with your other libraries, because the package manager essentially is a vertically integrated system. And of course, Meteor is based on Node, so it plays well with others. There are literally thousands of JavaScript libraries out there. If you've got a problem on the web, there's a JavaScript library that will fix it for you. And so the package manager or atmosphere is such that, it's just a one-line command to integrate anything. If it isn't included in the package manager, and you want to include JavaScript, you just drop it into a directory in your application. Meteor finds it, compiles and builds it to pieces.
Okay, so who are Meteor? This is actually all the guys in the Meteor development group, taken off their website. There's about 30, 40 people, I think, in the team. As recently as May, they got £20 million worth of venture capital invested in them to keep this platform and further develop it. So I think that hopefully these guys aren't going to go away anytime soon. But if they did, well, you are actually just going to fall back onto the technologies like Node and Mongo that it's built on. This is a Trello board, just to show you they're actually very active in terms of engaging with the developer community over what our wants and needs are and what features we're after. So there's like a voting board on Trello. And we're going to go to questions now, but we're just going to show you a demo while you want to ask us any questions. So if you want to hit that URL with your anything you've got in your hand and see what comes up.
Whilst people are doing that, has anybody got any questions that they want to throw out immediately? Yes, sir.
Here, let me just get the microphone for you.
Okay guys, thanks for the talk. This is a question for both of you. I'm just interested to know, are you using Blaze for the view or something else? And if you've considered incorporating ES6?
We are using Blaze. I am. And I don't know what ES6 is. ECMAScript. Oh, sorry. Don't know. We are using Blaze. Can you answer?
Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no then.
Yeah, because Blaze is the built-in templating, which obviously if you can swap that out and use you can use Angular or something like that. But I'm sticking with vanilla. I'm trying to stay with everything vanilla, unless I absolutely have to. So I've added Bootstrap in, for example, but that's a Meteor supported add-in via the package manager.
I actually did that without the package manager the first time.
Oh, okay.
So it works both ways, and I think that's the same with the majority of the JavaScript that goes in.
Do you know?
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Oh no, right, you go.
I was just going to ask, is there a clear roadmap for Meteor in terms of, for example, in Angular, I know there's version 1, version 2, there's a whole load of breaking changes, so there's a lot of people left with, you've got this code base, you either stay on what's now legacy or you invest a lot of time and effort to upgrade. Is this relatively stable now for people to adopt? Or?
It is now, yeah, because going back through stuff in Stack Overflow, they hit version 1 this year. So they've sort of like established stability at that point. But I've seen a lot of noise about, you know, what it was is people desperate for features from early on, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, and then they got them. And so the problems that you find have gone away because they've actually incorporated them. But that Trello board, you just do Meteor Trello in Google, and you'll see it's got all of the future ideas and then what they're actually planning to do.
They're very public about what's coming up, and also when they commence development of a given feature, the documentation is all there for you to read, and you can see what the developers are thinking and considering when they're implementing features. The particular ones, they're MySQL, which is coming really soon.
So I noticed that some of you have actually managed to send a few messages in to this great tech-wed chat app that we produced for tonight. So you can see the messages have just been coming up as you've been typing them in, maybe a little delay. Let me just show you. That's the code for that app. That's it. Well, there's some CSS, but you don't need to see that, just to make the formatting nice. Left-hand side, that's the HTML to create the page, and the right-hand side is all the business logic to read the message and post it.
Well, that's close. Two questions. How's it charged, and is it expensive?
Okay, so it's open source.
Oh, right.
All the technology it's based on is open source. It's free to use. There's a free server tier that they offer for prototyping, and they're intending to make money next year with a costed hosting. But you don't have to use that hosting, You can use your own. As we've already seen, you can push it to AWS if you want to do your own plumbing, but they've got a service coming soon, and I use a hosted service that costs me £0.01 an hour.
Wow. And secondly, is it retrofittable?
In what sense?
Could you take an app which is slightly messy and spend a bit of time fudging it into Meteor? I'm obviously not technical.
It would depend on the complexity of it, yeah.
Right.
But I think it would depend what you're doing.
That's what I did.
Right.
My app that I'm developing, I actually had prototyped it with just straight HTML and JavaScript, just for the UI, not for any particular functionality. But I just lifted all that in and then started ripping out the HTML and templating.
You can certainly use your HTML and CSS almost without change. The JavaScript will need a little bit of plumbing, but it's quite straightforward.
Cool.
Even you could do it.
I don't know about that.
Any more questions?
Thanks. I was wondering if you could speak to the synchronization aspect between the back and the front end. Typically, particularly in the mobile space, this is a really difficult problem to solve at the moment, especially regarding offline, how you synchronize right actions that take place whilst you don't have a connection.
Right. Yeah, well, this is like the key message is kind of all taken care of for you. Meteor just has this synchronization layer. It replicates the data between the client and the server, but it handles all that plumbing for you. So what it does is when you say, for example, if I send a message here now, I actually type something in, and then I press enter, it updates me automatically, and then in the background it then goes away and tries to sync that data up. And eventually, at some point, it either syncs up and it says, okay, that's been done, or if you want to set it up that way, it'll actually fall back and say, okay, it's timed out, and it rips that update down. But it does handle that. I mean, that's exactly one of the reasons why I jumped on it, is because I thought I was going to have to write all this code to do all that kind of stuff. Or, I don't know if any of you guys remember Couchbase coming in a while back and did a presentation on their technology. I thought, well, that's a good solution for this, but of course you're going to have to do all your integration around that, whereas this is just part of the package.
I mean, if I might just add to it, we touched very early on, it runs a simulation of the contents of your database in the browser, and then it synchronises the two.
Who's Billy Bollocks then?
Who's that?
Somebody's registered themselves as Billy Bollocks. Okay, right.
Thanks, everyone. James and Roy up now.
Good evening, everyone. My name's James McDonough. I'm the founder of a business with no name. It runs under a project name of Project Sherlock, and we're playing around with names at the moment. So currently we're alighted on a lot to share. I'm here with one of my colleagues, Roy Bailey, who's in the front, and he'll wave to you now. And we're here to present to you during our discovery phase in our lean startup. First of all, I'd just like to thank Tech Wednesday for the opportunity to do this. I was expecting 7 people. I'm a first timer. I've got a gold star. I thought there was going to be 7 people here, not 100 and odd. So thank you very much for listening. And we are here to get your feedback. Good, bad, hopefully not indifferent. And please don't feedback on, especially via tweet, on my jacket, because I've copped enough flack for that today. This has gone off. Oh, there we go. So there is going to be some audience participation. It's not too much, it's just a show of hands. So to start with, I'd just like to ask a few questions, and if you could put your hands up, if you believe or you recognise the term, that would be great. So how many people in the room have an idea at the moment that they believe they could take to market? Okay, so if you can keep your hands up for a second, please. And how many of the people with their hands up have £127,992 of asset and credit to be able to take that to market? Yeah. The 3 people who've kept their hands up are going to have a lot of people talking to you later on, I think. And my final question is, how many people in this room have marketable skills and can spot a good idea? Great. Okay, so there's a few numbers here as well, a few numbers I wanted to take you through. So £128,000, that's the average it costs to take a startup to market. After 3 years, you have an 8% chance of still being in existence. That means you're spending £128,000 on an 8 in 100 chance of success. Success being existence, not profit, by the way. £74 billion is spent annually around the world financing startup organisations. You have a 0.05, not 0.5, not 0.5, I say, 0.05 chance of attracting equity investment via a venture capital fund because their normal investment is 7 million. And if you do start up, you're one of 581,173 businesses that have started up in the UK over the past year. It is worth just saying, I did do a little bit of research, and Birmingham right here is the second most innovative city in the country. 18,337 startups last year. So yeah, well done. So the problem statement that we're trying to solve at Project Sherlock is that founders have skills gaps. Skillers have poor networks. They don't discover lots of opportunities of high quality, good grade business ideas that they can contribute to. And neither group have a very good network for being able to solve their real problem. Founders spend about 50% of their time chasing finance. Average cost, as I said, is 128,000. 65,000 of that usually is borrowed. So it's all about the money. But they have an undefined skills gap. Undefined because they don't know what the skills they are that are missing. Let's be honest about it. We are making this up as we go through startup. And money alone does not solve this problem. I can give you £100 now to try and solve a problem that you don't know you have. I bet it won't help you in one way. So our opportunity at Project Sherlock is to bring founders and skillers together to collaborate on an equity basis to solve a problem. And the problem is to get a startup to a predictable and repeatable business model. So founder forms the company and describes it as biddable lots. Those biddable lots, extremely defined, extremely predictable, and they represent their skills gap. and we'll come on to how they do that in a second. Skillers will get to view and choose from. It's all about choice for a skiller, because all you people who kept your hands in the air and said, I have a marketable skill and I can spot a good idea, the trick is you need to have lots of choice. You need to kiss a lot of frogs. You need to be looking at a data set of 50 ideas, 100 ideas where they need your skills to solve their problem, so that you can make an assessment of whether it's a good idea and you want to be involved. Founders form a team to deliver the lots based on equity transfer. So this is about protecting. This is about protecting skillers and founders via reasonable legal protection. So I'll come on to how we do that in a second. And a massive reduction in startup finance and a massive reduction in risk for all parties. So people are giving up their time and they're solving problems and collaborating together. And what this does is it increases the probability of success for startups. So if we can nudge that 8% up to 12, 15%, then an awful lot of people are going to make livings and have more choices from being involved in startups. And there's just one final part of the opportunity, and I'll come on to the definition of this, the buyback. Based on your contractual relationship and your collaboration, there is always the opportunity for a founder to buy back the shares when the skiller feels they want to sell and redeem their rewards, their fair rewards for what they're doing. So that buyback's important, because what it's allowing the founder to do is to defer payment until there's more value in the business, but retain control of their business if they so wish. So our value proposition, and I'll go through this rather quickly, is Sherlock allows founders to found a company, build the right team, and collaborate effectively with that team to ensure a much greater chance of startup success. So the platform will have a number of services. Those services are around network, they're around collaboration, they're around protection. That's important. People are protected from being ripped off. We don't want that to happen to anyone. And reward. It's about the transfer of A-grade equity. This problem, the problem to solve, is actually a legal one. The building of the technology, even though Roy, who's the CTO, will tell you it's the most important thing, actually it's the legal. It's making sure everybody trusts what they're doing and can work in an atmosphere of trust and collaboration. Founders get the chance to buy back, as we've talked about, and all parties are properly rewarded for their contributions. And that means that everybody is motivated by company success. They're not motivated by the paycheck. That is a big problem. And if you want me to prove it, I said that VCs spend 7 million on average on each of their 3,000 transactions that they took in the US last year. 90% of those VC companies have failed. So these are a bunch of experts who spent a lot of time on due diligence to do 3,000 things. 90% have already failed. So they're spending a lot of money from people who are motivated on paycheck. I say, if skillers are motivated by company success and a defined contribution, then there's a much higher chance of success in that business. The first rule of our project, by the way, just so people don't believe that we're trying to sell you something, Sherlock is started and it runs on the Sherlock business model. So Sherlock is proving Sherlock. Nobody involved in Sherlock, and there's a number of us, is getting a paycheck. Everybody is getting equity in the business. A-grade equity, what A-grade equity means, by the way, is it's non-dilutable. So if you own 3% of a business, until you decide to sell 3% of your business, you will always own 3% of that business. It will not be diluted to 12 pence worth of paper on round 4 of funding. Just a quick view of the process. I'm going to run through this quite quickly because the next slide, my wife told me to put this in, and I always do what she tells me, is an example. So we're going to try and bring it to life. So I'll just go through the process to start with. Everybody has to register. They have to put their profile on. And this is about top trumps. I don't know if anyone played top trumps. Maybe I'm the oldest person in the room. But top trumps, I had tanks. And basically, there was always a tank that could build a bridge, and that was the longest one, but it was the slowest. So it had a weakness, but it had a strength. Your profile is about your credibility. So if you've been involved in 5 startups and you've contributed to 5 startups and those startups have made money, that will go into your profile. And people are able to see that, and actually you're going to have a much better ability to increase your bid, get more equity in a business for your skills because you're a high-grade contributor. Same for a founder. the people with the idea. If they've got a good idea, they put a good campaign, they put a good description about that together, and their profile is good, i.e. they're trustworthy, they work hard, etc., 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 then people are going to be more keen to work with them and they'll attract more bids. They've found the company. That is something which we do to start with. Sherlock is all about making other people successful. And the reason is our business model is based on if you're not successful, we're not successful. We eat the same dog food, to use Microsoftism, that everybody else does. So if you don't succeed, Sherlock doesn't succeed. Bids are put up, defined bids which represent a skills gap. It's not everything. It may just be, for instance, a patent application, very defined. You don't have the money, but you'd like things to come to be attracted, and you'd like to give people equity for that piece of work. You form a team with contract, and that's a legal contract. It's a contract that you can print out, but it's automatically produced. Once people have contributed, they get their shares, a real share certificate from the system, once delivery has been agreed by both parties. You can track your company's performance. There's an algorithm which gives you your market value. And at the right time, when you decide you want to sell your shares, you can offer them back to the founder, or you can sell them on the open market, and you can move on. So if we have a look at our example, a friend of mine who's a serial technical entrepreneur has come up with an idea called ManPan. The reason why I've used ManPan, I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't think it's that good an idea, but it's not a technical idea, and he's not in the room today. The next meeting I'm going to, he is in the room, so he's going to enjoy this. It's not a technical idea. This is about building a frying pan, just as good on this platform as any other. Now, he doesn't have any clue how he can lodge a patent application. He needs a mentor to tell him about culinary equipment, and he needs somebody to come up with a prototype. So that's his skills gap. He'll register, he'll put his lots up onto the system, hopefully he'll attract some bids based on his campaign, and he'll negotiate a percentage for each of those contributions. That adds up to, for those 3 lots, to 9%. Yeah? So it's 9% of his business he is giving away. Contracts are signed based on this agreement. The lots are delivered through the contribution phase. He now has his patent lodged, he has a prototype, and he has a mentor who's introducing him to several people within that sector. Let's say that ManPan Incorporated is successful. I highly doubt it, but it's not me who has to make it work. He'll be able to, the contributors will be able to track that, and when it gets to the right level of success, they'll be able to offer the founder, or if the founder doesn't want them anyone else, those shares back, and they'll be able to exit with a fair reward. It is worth saying that once the guy who came up with ManPan, the founder, has registered with us and has founded his company, he can use that cycle as many times as he wants. So if he finds out he has a skills gap later on, he can then try and fill that skills gap through the platform. So our business model, and we're testing this, so please give us feedback after the presentations. All ideas become businesses through a standard company formation service. Now, this is going to cost, we reckon, around £250. Why this is important is because you have to have a company to give away equity. You can't give away equity in an idea, and you have to be able to give away the right grade of equity, or else people aren't going to get involved. A founder will pay 5% equity of their company for the use of the platform, and they'll make this payment up front. The reason is because we want to support them in everything they do, and we can do that if they have made that contribution up front. It's not worth anything to us until they have made a success. We want to be able to support them and take down the walls between contribution and collaboration, and we do that through a payment up front. We will put a dispute resolution service up. We hope it's never used, but the likelihood is it will. And we've talked about a fixed price for this. So that's people agree to terms and conditions, and one of our legal team will be able to make a decision for them on what should happen. And we are stating that charitable projects can use the platform for free. The phase we're in at the moment, just to go through this quickly, we're currently in our discovery phase, so we're investigating user needs, and we're looking for founding fathers. And if we get feedback which it isn't a good business idea, then we'll either pivot or we'll stop doing it. We haven't built a huge amount of product right now. We're looking to go into alpha phase in January 2016, and we'll be looking to work with our founding fathers and our founding skillers to ensure that we iron out all our kinks. We'll be looking to go live in the UK in April 2016, and then we're looking to go global post April 16, depending on how we do. Our management team is in place. You can read those names as well as me reading them out. It's just worth saying, I don't want to talk about financial projections because I've made them up. I felt compelled to, but our two metrics are, because we only succeed if you do, number of companies founded, because that shows that it's useful to people, and the number of buyback events that have occurred, because that means the value is being generated. People only buy back something which is of value to them. So our current state of achievements, we formed our team. This is the Sherlock platform team, and it's based on equity for delivery, so everybody's working in the same model. It's been very successful so far. We're moving through discovery, and Sherlock enters our alpha delivery phase next week, once we've finished our spikes on technology. And this is the final bit of audience participation. So based on the before, which was £127,992 to get your company through to market, who would be prepared, I'm not asking about Sherlock right now for this question, who'd be prepared, if they had a marketable business plan, to spend £250 to get that to market? Okay, thank you very much. Based on some more conversation and us being able to collaborate, who would be prepared, if they had a marketable business idea, to be a founding father within the organisation? Let me just tell you a little bit about what a founding father is. At Sherlock, we're suggesting that for the first 100 projects which are lodged on our system, that we'll give away a small percentage of Sherlock to those ideas. So if that sounds like a good idea to you, if you could just raise your hands. That's great, thank you. And we'd be very interested in looking at price point feedback as well, if we can do that in the meetup later on. That the particular prices we're looking at are the 5% equity in the business. It is worth saying that a number of the crowdfunding systems take 16%, and that's money raised up front. £1,000 for dispute resolution, should it ever come to that, and we hope not. And the £250 for company formation in a standard way. So we're really interested in that. The final thing to say before I take questions is, please, we're here for your feedback. It's hugely important to us. Roy has a clipboard. He's very important. So we're going to be going around just trying to gather your feedback, because that's what we're here for, because that's going to make a big difference to how we progress. So I'll open the floor now to any questions, if anyone has them. Do I choose or do you choose?
You choose and I'll run with the microphone.
I'm going to choose that one first, just because it's a...
Which one?
Sorry. The 5%, can the founder buy that back at a later stage?
So absolutely, in every contractual relationship there will be a buyback for the founder. So if the platform chose to sell, the first person they would have to go to sell is to the founder at the market rate.
And what does the 5% represent? 5% of what is that?
5% of the equity in the business.
That you're raising?
No. So there's 100% equity in the business, and 5% would be transferred to the Sherlock platform.
Okay,
and so to each of your skilling colleagues, you would then agree equity transfer to them on delivery of a lot, and that would be transferred on delivery of the lot.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, hello, I'm Will. By way of qualification, I've raised £1.5 million from my startup, including £500,000 from Crowdcube in the last 3 months or so. So I feel qualified to ask some questions. The first one is just around...
Qualified to ask for some money.
Selling equity requires you to do various bits of legal bits and pieces with the FCA and the Prudential Regulation Authority and so on. How far along the line are you with the various regulatory things?
So one of the people on our team, there was a guy called Darren Stillwell, who's the chief counsel for one of the big finance houses in Canary Wharf. He's currently working up the set of legals. What we're looking for is something which is fairly frictionless, reasonably trustworthy, and I say reasonably because we have different territories we'll need to go into, but for the UK, which is non-regulated in terms of security transfer, there are still rules, as you've said, and things that you need to do. he's working up the contracts, the NDAs, etc., which would be defensible. So that happens hopefully over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And we'll maybe be able to come back to this group and
Okay.
give some more details on that. So we're just working them up.
One thing I wanted to say is I think it's a great idea. I think there is definitely a market mismatch there between skilled people and founders, and you're trying to solve that gap, which is great. I think 5% is, well, so Crowdcube don't take any equity, Kickstarter don't take any equity, and to be a platform and also take 5% seems really high to me.
So do they take, my understanding of Kickstarter, people like Crowdcube as well, is they take an amount of the money that you raise?
Yeah, it varies between 3.5 to 5% of the money raised, but no equity.
Okay, and Indiegogo, they take more than that, I think.
Right.
So I think the answer to your question in terms of active listening, we don't know what the market will bear.
Sure.
We have had to make this up. So we are looking for people like yourselves, entrepreneurs and skillers, to tell us, actually, that's a bit high, that's a bit low, this could happen a little bit differently, and we'll take that on board. So at the moment, we're sticking a tail in the donkey.
I've hogged it and asked 2 questions. I'm just going to ask one more, which is how are you going? How are you going to reach these skillers? They seem to me like quite hard market or segment to reach. How are you going to get to them?
So I think we have a couple of very good marketeers who we're working with. One of whom is specialism is in social networking. We are very, very clear that a viral model takes an awful lot of hard work. Everyone believes that it just happens. So we're working on social platforms, we're working on those, but we're going to be working on that very, very hard during our alpha phase. And we are going to be spending quite a bit of money on above-the-line marketing as well. But that will happen through our beta phase, I think. So at the moment, we're just in test and improving mode, finding out what the market wants, and delight the market, and we'll move forward from there. We don't have all the answers.
And that guy's going to try and nip in, isn't it? I'm not bothered, I've got it.
Just, can I just, sorry, can we have Greg first and then you? Is that right?
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm in E4F at the end, product designer. The protection is my biggest concern. I've got international patent pending on a bit of technology, and I'm just starting to disclose stuff. What's your situation? I've got black books of ideas, lots of ideas. So how are you going to protect ideas that you put onto an open network? Say I put up a sketch, no protection on that. How is that going to be protected? Because in the end, an NDA isn't really worth anything in the long term.
It depends how it's done. It's about it being defensible. I am not a legal expert.
Yeah.
I asked the question of my, I don't want to say chief legal counsel, it sounds so highly, my mate who's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I asked him, okay, can we protect these things at given? And he gave me the view that this is all about a phased approach. So you start off with a teaser, you start off by describing it in terms of skills, so it attracts people who may be useful in collaboration for that idea. And as they move down through more detail, they're more and more involved in the signing of general terms and conditions, so opting into certain conditions. He's very clear that that would be defensible. You give a full audit, and in terms of you as the entrepreneur, the founder, you would be able to get a complete audit trail of that. So to start with, you'd opt into our terms and conditions. As you moved into the campaign proper, you'd sign up to a non-disclosure agreement. I'm talking about as a skiller. You'd sign up to a non-disclosure agreement, and then finally, if you were to be successful in your bid to contribute a particular defined lot, you would sign up to the contract. And all of those things would be producible by the platform.
No, it's just the protection thing is what I'd be the most concerned with.
So, in no means a legal expert. I wish Darren was.
I just think we have got an IP lawyer in the room. Any comments there?
Because we've had a lot of chats about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want a microphone?
Yeah, go on. Thanks, Michelle.
Are you the IP lawyer?
I am an IP lawyer, and I work in this building down the end of the corridor. No, it's an interesting answer. Yeah, it has to be thought through, and you can disclose things under an NDA, and it's a question of the safest thing is not to give anything away at all and don't tell anyone, but then you won't get any money. So and NDAs, I've had people that had very good NDAs that I've drafted for them, and they know they can't rely on them, but they've worked in specific cases. So you won't get any money in if you don't tell anyone. So that's the answer, really. It's management of the risk.
I think I agree. We're trying to protect our skills as much as we possibly can. It's like a threat. We're trying to protect people as much as we can. But at the end of the day, the answers aren't in your building, to quote Steve Blank. The answers are outside. So I don't have an NDA with any of you guys, but this business isn't going to take off if I don't come and talk to you about it. But that's not to say we're not trying to protect people absolutely as much as we can. And our lawyer friend is very confident that that can happen. So that's the only answer I can give to you right now, because we haven't written up those T's and C's contracts.
Yeah, no, that was just the main thing, and it was because I went down to see an investor the other day who spoke at the centre, and he said pretty much if I didn't have a legal team behind me with an NDA in place, it's not going to be worth anything. So I actually went down there because now I've got the international patent pending without an NDA signed, because he was not willing to. But we knew him pretty well through the centre, so I took that on myself to make a judgment. But that was my main thing.
Thank you very much.
Fine. And then Pauline. Out of time. Can we get this guy and then Pauline at the end, and then that's it for the questions. But
I've just got a question about the measures of success. So sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm going to have to sit quite awkwardly. In terms of when the skillers want to keep track of the success of something they're involved in, how are you measuring that success?
So there's a couple of ways in which we're measuring it. There's a couple of APIs. I'm airing into Lloyd's territory right now. There's a couple of APIs which you can use for company monitoring. There's a number of these APIs. We're looking to use the company house API system now. It does have company monitoring. I must disclose that I work for government with Microsoft at the moment as one of their enterprise architects. So we're looking to give that monitoring of a company and of directors, so the founders of those companies, through a tracking portal and feed in that API. But the reason why we can track them is because we form those companies. So we know those companies, we know who the directors are. So as you, and the doors are open once that foundation happens, that incorporation happens, the doors are open. So you can follow them and you can see how those companies are doing. And so that gives you a market value. Over and above that, we will wrap that in an algorithm which will allow you to see how a company is performing, what its worth is now on the market, and what its worth might be in the future. So you can make informed decisions about when you want to, I don't want to say cash out, but realise your reward.
Right, yeah. And on the same sort of subject, the when you were measuring the success of Sharelock in terms of buyback, would there not be a sort of feeling that if somebody was getting a lot of value from their investment as a skiller, that they would want to hold on to that rather than selling? And
but this is about scale. This does not work unless it's about scale. This is not for everybody. It's for some people. And if you're talking about a large scale of ideas and lots of skillers getting involved and collaborating in those ideas, there will be some buyback events. So the buyback events won't be commensurate with the foundation events, but they will represent value being generated.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is say, is it more than 8%? We want it to be 12, 15%, because that's what we're passionate about. We're passionate about disrupting the way startups are financed. Reduced risk, higher chance of success.
Cool.
Just one more, Pauline, and then we'll have to get on.
Hi, I'm Pauline Roach. I work with non-profits, and I'm interested in the digital transformation of the voluntary and community sector and charities. Crowdfunding has already been seen as a disruptive platform for a lot of charities and voluntary organisations. Have you talked to any non-profits in the development of your work, and have you got any ideas about using them, or how they could use what you do?
The answer to that is no, we're not that mature. I'd really love to speak to you about it now, Pauline. And I know the rest of the guys I'm working with are passionate about giving something back. And a lot of people say this, but if this ended up just being a platform for voluntary organisations to get contributions to worthy causes, I'd be a very, very happy guy, and I know Roy would as well, and the other guys on the founding team. But we haven't had those conversations yet, no. We just want to do something which is worthwhile. So if we could talk afterwards, I'd be very happy to do that. Brilliant. Thanks, Pauline.
Well, thanks ever so much, James.
No, thank you very much for your time.
Lots of you got some feedback. So James then will be at the network bit, so please do come and speak to them if you've got any more feedback. I think they'd appreciate that. Thank you. So next thing, just want to thank Mike for stepping in the last minute. We had one of the speakers cancel this morning, so Mike, who's not afraid of speaking, but to be fair on him, he had 5 minutes really to prepare, so I appreciate him stepping in. So I'll let you carry on.
Thank you, Michelle. 5 minutes sounds good because I know you all have no expectations about what I'm about to say, so I'm quite pleased with that. So thanks for landing me with this one, Michelle. This is actually, I've spoken at Tech Wednesday a few times before, and I do thoroughly enjoy it. And previously I've spoken about a couple of businesses that we run, Toy Boy Warehouse, the dating site, and more recently Hopper, the Instagram scheduling app. But today's different, and today I'm not going to talk about business, but I'm going to talk about our relationships with business. So who in the room is currently running a business? And who is going to be or intending to run a business as a result of that? Okay. Now, who here thinks, who here by show of hands is successful? Who feels like this every single day of their life? Every single day. We've got a few. Can I have an example from this gentleman here? Okay, not this gentleman here. Someone who feels successful. Why? Like, what is that success to them? There's a few hands. Sure. You run a profitable company. Okay. People who haven't achieved success or don't consider themselves as successful and they don't feel like this. What is success to you? If no one answers, I'm going to point, and then the person will hate me.
Everybody has their own definition of success. For some person, it could be a happy family life. For
Sure.
another person, it could be a pain.
I fully agree. What's your personal definition of success?
I can't answer success.
Cool. About 3 years ago, I was asked that question. And actually, I was asked to talk at an event, and it was entitled Freelance Your Way to Success. They just wanted a 10-minute talk about how you could do consultancy and freelance. It was the hardest thing I had to write because actually I realised I didn't actually know what success was to me. And at the 16th of February next year, so in a few months, it's the 10-year anniversary of when I first started my first business. And at that time I thought, shit, I've been running various businesses for 7 years, and I have no idea why I'm doing it. I have no idea when I have done enough or when I know that the reason why I'm doing this has been achieved. And I also met a couple of people and read a few blogs, and you hear it all the time that people are the richest people, or they're the best in their industry, or whatever they've wanted to achieve, they've achieved it, but they still end up desperately unhappy. I'm sure we've all heard that sort of thing, and we don't need to labour that point. And quite often, a lot of people that I know who run businesses often end up feeling like this rather than the previous slide. And that could be a multitude of things. You start a business to escape a job, and then all you do is you create yourself a really shitty job that actually doesn't pay as much as you could get elsewhere. Or you take investors, and those investors don't want you, they don't care about you. They take you out of the business and they look at you as a different thing. So through this process, 3 years ago, it literally took me about a week, and I took about 4 days out. And I thought, why have I been doing what I've been doing, and where does that end? What is success to me? So I just want to show you the kind of 5 key phases that I've had in the last 10 years of running businesses. When I was actually at Aston University, I started a company called Trigger Experiences. And Trigger Experiences is a paintballing company. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the people in shopping centres or on the street trying to sell you paintball tickets. Has anyone bought paintball tickets off of one of those? Thank you, love that. Trigger Experiences was basically a company like that. We were a middleman, we sold tickets, and basically all of my friends worked with me, and it was all about the money, nothing else. We'd go out, and if we had a good day, we'd have literally pockets full of cash by the end of the day, and that would be successful. And if we didn't sell much, it wasn't successful. And it was as on and off, as hard and fast as that. And actually, I ran that business, and it's still run today, but I ran it personally for about 2 years. And it got to the point where I thought, God, this is a bit crap. There's a lot more than money. I started to hate what I was doing and just readjusted to having cash at the end of every day, and actually just felt slightly unfulfilled. So I stopped doing that, and I actually started a company called My Health Cards. Now, My Health Cards was the absolute opposite of Trigger Experiences. It had no money, and it wasn't really focused on money at all. It was basically an informational health card system which enabled people with different food allergies and intolerances to order food in restaurants and cafes abroad without making them ill. So if you have celiac disease, you basically hand over your card in Spain, which explains that in Spanish. Super simple. And it was a socially focused enterprise, so we weren't interested in making money. And actually, all I wanted to do at this point, when I was running this business, was just to kind of make a difference, to help people, to actually have an impact on more people and in more places than I could actually meet. And it was all about that social benefit. I got bored of that because I quite liked having the money previously. As I was still a student at the time and wanted to buy things and going out and all sorts, and actually it's not that fun not having that much money. So I stopped that. And in my final year at uni, I actually started, I became the sales director of a company called Eden Energy Consultants, actually based in the Science Park, but in one of the buildings on the other side of the road. Now, I wasn't passionate about energy. It was an energy brokerage company, basically. But I was really, really good friends with the guy that I ran it with. And actually, at that point, I didn't really care about the money too much. I wasn't bothered about changing people's lives because I'd already got bored of doing that with my health cards. This was literally all about me having fun, just laughing. And literally every single day in the office, we would just roll around with laughter. We had about 5 staff at one point who thought we were batshit crazy. We didn't actually really do anything. And it was so, the business didn't grow that much because we just had fun, and we didn't really think about business that much. And you don't need to when you're doing a brokerage company. Do you want to buy gas and electricity? Yes or no? Let's tell a joke. It's as simple as that. So I stopped running that business actually when the Japanese earthquake happened, and it pushed all of the prices up. So when energy prices went up overnight, we used to call up people and say, you're currently paying 14p per kilowatt hour for your electricity, we'll sell it to you for 12p. And they'll say, oh yeah, we'll do that. And when the energy crisis happened, we'd call people up and say, you're currently paying 14p per kilowatt hour, we'll sell it to you for 16p. No one bought. And actually, the fun stopped as well. So shortly after that, I actually joined something called the New Entrepreneurs Foundation. And the New Entrepreneurs Foundation is basically a 12-month training program for young entrepreneurs who want to run a big business, international business, and you get mentoring, you get support, you get loads and loads of things. It's a really great system. And actually, I wasn't really doing a huge amount of business at that time. I was working in advertising alongside this. And for that whole year, all I cared about, all I wanted to do was learn. I just wanted to absorb as much as possible how business worked, how people work, relationships. Also, it was just about learning everything that I can. And after that, I thought, right, I've got to put this into practice. I hope you can notice the bit of a trend that I don't really mix things very well. I'm very faddy, and if I'm only having fun, or only making money, or only having social difference, or only wanting to learn. And after that, we started a company called Probox, which was fitness supplements by subscription. So instead of buying a big sachet, a big block of protein, you'd buy an individual serving sachets. And what we wanted to do there was actually to create something new and be as innovative as possible. Couldn't get the product market fit with that, and we didn't lose too much because we did it in a lean way. So for a while, in between projects, I was actually just doing consulting as my bander. And actually what I realised is I absolutely loved just going into other businesses and just adding value. And actually, by that time, I'd learnt what I was good at. Not a huge amount, I can't remember it now, but I was good at stuff then. And I would go into a business and I would spend a week there, and at the end of that week, I could actually see that they are now making more sales. their marketing material is better, rebranded a company which actually looks shit hot and they're getting so much more stuff back, engagement off the back of it. And at that point, it was all about adding value. So that takes you up to 3 years ago, 7 years into running a business and not really having a clue. You're all reading that, I'm going to take it away. Not really having a clue. So when I had asked this question talk about freelancing your way to success, and realised I had no idea what success was. And I wrote all of these things down and my motivations behind it and whether I felt successful or not. And I thought, you know what? I need to find some sort of balance here. This is exhausting. So I developed my 5 criteria for success. Now, it is as boring and as process-driven as it sounds, but I kid you not, it's literally changed the way I work and move and do everything. So this is not going to be for everyone, and this isn't going to. This isn't. You're not going to read this and say, yes, I agree, that is success. But for me, having these 5 things and having a balance of these 5 things is exactly what I want and exactly what I need. I now don't try and achieve success. I'm not building something that one day I'll know that I'm successful when I have something. I try and experience success every single day, every single week, every single month. And I genuinely assess that like really, really regularly. So my 5 criteria for success is 1, continued learning. No matter what I do, where I am, I always have to learn. And that can be through conversations, that can be through courses, that can be through challenges, but I always have to learn. Number 2 is adding value. Does anybody have those days in the office where you leave or just in life and you're like, oh, I did nothing today? It's so demotivating. So I make sure that no matter what I'm doing, whether it's as consultant internally or whatever, speaking to people, I always have to try and add some sort of value. Making a social difference is really important. And social difference doesn't mean running a charity or a social enterprise, but actually to me, it means actually building something bigger than myself and having a positive impact on more people than are in this room, and more people than just myself. Number 4 is having fun. It sounds really boring, but I do quite like to have fun. And that can be anything. That can be winding up here all day, or that can be like just being an idiot, or going out with friends, or seeing my family, and just being me, and just meeting people and building those relationships. So important to me. And finally, and this is so critical, is having, and this is the word, enough money. Now, do I want to run a big business that will have lots of money? Blah, blah, blah? Yes. But actually, I don't want to do that if I'm not going to have fun and add value and learn and everything else. I have, genuinely in my head, I have a figure which to me is enough money. And if I can earn more than that, but if I don't, then it doesn't matter because I've got a balance of the other stuff. And if I find myself earning more money but not having fun, I'll just stop and I'll just change and I'll just do something slightly different. And if I don't earn enough money, then I also need to balance it out the other way. So this is something that I try and experience every day, every week, every month, and just constantly retweaking and rebalancing. Now in those last 3 years, 2 other things have become more important to me, which I think sits and encompasses these. And that really is health. And I think that's come as I've got a bit older and slower. Health, I think, is just wrapped around all of this. And also time. But for me, living in this way means that I'm making the most of every single minute. So if things are shorter than they should be, then I've been successful, I've experienced success. How that plays into my life now on a day-to-day is I actually run a company called Term Partners. And Term Partners is basically a vehicle for my business partner and I, James Vardy and I, to actually do that and to rebalance what we're doing to be successful, to experience success. And we have multiple projects, Toiber Warehouse, Hopper. We also have a few other things that are more cash focused. And I'll share this with you because we're friends now. In the early days of Toiber Warehouse, we really enjoyed what we were doing, but we weren't earning enough money off the back of it, and we thought the balance is out of kilter. So for about almost a year, we just did loads of ticket touting on the side. So every Wednesday and every Friday morning, we'd buy tickets on the Wednesday and sell them on the Friday, and that earned us more than enough money. So actually it meant that we could do everything else that we enjoyed and make sure that the balance was there and enable us to build our business a lot more sustainably. So this is how I've managed. That's what's important to me, and this is how I've managed to continue to experience that. That will change in the future, and that won't be right for you. But if I can leave two things with you, I would highly recommend, suggest, and implore you all to just answer, what is your criteria for success? Like, what does that mean to you, and how can you feel successful? And finally, how are you going to experience it every day? What do you need to do? What do you need to give up? What do you need to take up to make sure that you experience success every single day? Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, guys. I'm conscious of time because we've run on a bit longer. Does anyone have any questions for Mike, or is it just something to actually people just to go away and reflect while they're having a slice of pizza? Or do anyone have any?
Do you feel successful every day?
Like about 99% of the time.
Because 100% is insanity.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, genuinely, very, very much so. And because I'm so aware of this, and this has been ingrained every day for 3 years, if it gets to 5 o'clock and I feel like, oh, I haven't done one of the things, I'll do something different. I'll change it. I'll go somewhere. I'll speak to people. I'll learn something. And it's at that point now where I can be really adaptable to that. But yeah, like sometimes you can't do it right.
Great then. You'll be pleased to know the pizza's here. I know at the beginning I did say if anyone wants to stand up and do a 1-minute pitch. Is there anyone that is wanting to do that, or is everyone hungry? Okay, there's 2 people, so you've got a minute to pitch, and I will be very strict on time. Right. And then we're going to go and have pizza. So, okay.
Hello. Yes, it's working.
You hear me? That's better. Alright, my business. People task me to send messages to their friends or family, anonymous or not, regardless of the occasion, birthdays, anniversaries, evictions. But the message is written on a potato. And it's on a potato because it's unusual, strange, more memorable, quirky, unexpected, unpreparable, but most of all it's memorable. The message that's on the potato, you're not likely to forget it anytime soon. Cards are too mainstream. Send a potato instead. Cards are quite boring, don't be bland. Stand out, don't be forgettable. And starting to forget it now. A lot more people than I expected. Yeah, so when was the last time you remember what a card said when you got it? If it was on a potato, you'd remember it. So, potatointhepost.com. Going to launch by the end of the month. How cool is that?
I'm not quite sure how you're going to top that, but good luck. You can go after.
I have just,
is it working?
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, I have just developed the first mobile app which pays you to use it. Previously I was running a business back in the 90s, subletting spaces from the Oracle teletext, and it's from that this idea came about. Basically, I've developed a method where the business can distribute their offers. I'm not even sure about this microphone, I'm going to keep it in my face. For the businesses to distribute their offers and advertisements straight to the palm of their potential customers' hands. Also, for the app user can also make money, a small amount of money by viewing and rating the advertisements. If they also have a friend who has a business, they can actually post the advertisements also, and that will go out to the network of app users, and for posting the business they will actually get paid up to £1. That's beneficial to the business because they're getting publicity. It's beneficial to the app user because they earn a small amount of money, and then once they accumulate £20, they will press pay me and get paid. It's also good for us because we are populating, by them posting advertisements or posting those ads, it's populating the website and also the application. So basically, it's the first app which will pay you each time you use it. Thank you.
Alright, last one. There you go.
Hello there. I work for Wolverhampton City Council.
just making you aware that if your business is located in the Black Country, that is Warsaw Council, Sandwell, Wolverhampton or Dudley, there's £3,000 broadband vouchers that are available to access it. There you go.